Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using Spellbinders' brand new Let It Snow collection by Simon Hurley. Spellbinders' Let It Snow collection is designed by Simon Hurley. There are 4 die sets included in the collection. And this set is fun for Christmas or winter cards. The first die set is called Frozen Flurries. There are 2 dies included. One is a cover plate that cuts out lots of beautiful snowflakes, and the other is an A2 size rectangle. You could use the cover plate and cut out a bunch of snowflakes to feature on your card, or you could cut out the cover plate and add a sentiment and your card is finished. The next die set is another snowflake set. This one's called Layering Snowflakes, and there are 6 dies included, 3 different size snowflakes, and also the outline piece. And the fun thing about the snowflakes, they're designed to layer together. So you could have a very simple snowflake or add lots of layers for a more intricate design. The next die set is my favorite in this release. It's called Playful Penguins. There are 16 dies in the set featuring 3 different penguins. The little penguin on the left, its flippers are partially cut out so it can hold an object. Super cute. And the nice thing about the penguins, there really aren't that many die cut pieces needed to assemble them. Now you can accessorize them with all the different pieces. There's a Santa hat, a party hat, wreath with some bows, antlers, a sweater, and a little present. And even though there are lots of Christmas items in this set, you can add penguins on your cards all year round. With the present and the party hat, this would be a fun set for making birthday cards. The final die set is a sentiment set called Handwritten Holiday Sentiments. There are 32 dies included. It has the words and also the outline shadow piece. I'll show just a few of the sentiments so you can get an idea of the size, but you can see all the sentiments on the little printout sheet. Merry Christmas, Deck the Halls, Happy Holidays, Joy to the World, Warm Wishes, Let It Snow, and Noel. So those are the 4 die sets included in the brand new Let It Snow collection. And if you are interested in any of the products, I do have links in the description box below. I made 4 cards using the new collection. And I have all of my pieces cut out and organized in Spellbinders craft stack trays. I'm using the medium size, but they also have a larger size, which is twice the size of the medium tray. I will be using pattern paper for my cards. This is from Woodware. It's their Snowscape collection. Beautiful tone-on-tone design, and I thought the colors would be perfect to work with the Let It Snow collection. I selected the pink pattern paper, cut it out using the Frozen Flurries cover plate. I'll put Barely Art glue on the back. I'm trying to make sure to get enough glue in all those little intricate areas of the snowflake. And on the back side, I'll be adding a piece of white pearlescent cardstock from Spellbinders. Now through all of those snowflake cutouts, you'll see this beautiful white shimmer design. Now I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. On the front of the card, I'm using the same pattern paper, but this time the opposite side. I cut a 2-inch strip by 4 1/4 inches. And for a little separation, I'm adding a Love from Lizi peel off along the edge of this strip. This is the silver moon dust color in the pinstripe style. I'm using the widest width. Now I'll flip over this piece, put more ATG tape on the back, and add it on the center of my card. When you think of winter, pink is probably not the first color that comes to mind. But I love the look of the pink and white design for this card. Using the layering snowflakes, I cut out 3 snowflake layers. The largest and the smallest, I used some white glitter cardstock from Spellbinders. And the middle snowflake layer, I cut out of Vellum. Now before I add those larger snowflakes, I'm filling in the center of some of the snowflakes on the background. I saved some of those small cutout pieces. I'll add a small drop of Barely Art glue. Pick up those small pieces using Scrapbook.com's Craft Pro Pick tool. I'm using the wax tip end. Now I'll set aside the card and start assembling the large layered snowflake. Starting with the glitter piece on the background, I'll add some Barely Art glue in the center, attach the vellum layer. And that vellum snowflake didn't want to adhere at first, so I did give it a little more pressure with my finger. Then I'll put glue on the back of the smallest snowflake and adhere it on top. Now it does take a little bit longer to adhere the vellum onto the glitter pieces, but once the glue dries, those snowflakes aren't going anywhere. I'm placing a large acrylic block on top for some added weight while the glue dries. Now I'll start working on the sentiment. I'm adding Let It Snow. I used a darker pink cardstock color for the words and some more white pearlescent cardstock for the shadow. I'm using a pair of reverse tweezers to hold the words in place, adding Barely Art glue on the back, and I'll add the word on top of the shadow. The final piece, dotting the I. I'll first add that small drop of glue. Then I'll use the wax tip end of the Craft Pro Pick tool to pick up that dot and adhere it in place. I'll also use the piercing tip end to get that little dot adjusted. I love that this is a 4-in-1 tool. Super handy to have. Now that the glue has dried for my snowflake, I'm using my fingers and curling up some of the snowflake points. Gives it more of a dimensional look. I'll add the sentiment Let It Snow underneath the snowflake, and I will be popping it up using foam dimension. I have Scrapbook.com's small foam squares. This is the 1mm thickness, so it'll add that little bit of dimension without a lot of bulk. I'll make sure to get good coverage on the back of the 3 words, and I will need to cut a few of those small squares in half to fit behind the words. And without adhesive, I've laid the 3 words on the card, trying to get even placement. We'll add the word snow first. Next, I'll add it, and then finally the word let. For a final finishing touch, I'm adding a pink gem sticker in the center of the large snowflake. The pink gem stickers are from Spellbinders, but this is a retired color. They do have adhesive on the back, but I did add a small drop of Barely Art glue since I'm adhering it on a glitter surface. So there is my finished card, and I love how this one turned out. Now moving on to card number 2. For the background of my card, I have some pink cardstock, and I've already added this lovely gold shimmer all over the background using Ranger's Distress Spritz. This is the Fossilized Amber color. I'll put ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. For my previous card, I used the cover plate, but none of the cutout snowflakes, and I didn't want them to go to waste, so I'm adding some of those snowflakes on this pink panel. Now you could use the cover plate and line up all of those snowflakes following the same design, but I'm just randomly adding snowflakes all over the background, alternating the different styles and sizes of the snowflakes. And I did speed up this portion quite a bit while I'm gluing down each of the snowflakes. I couldn't resist making a second pink snowflake card, But if you're not a pink fan, don't worry, my last two cards don't feature any pink. Once I've covered the background with the larger snowflakes, I'll fill in some of those blank areas with the teeny tiny snowflake image. I have just a few more to add. Now I'll set aside the card and start working on the penguin image. Now for this penguin, I've already assembled it, but I will be assembling a penguin later on. I guess I recorded the cards in the wrong order that I prepped them. But no worries, since you will see how I assemble the penguin. This penguin will be wearing a winter sweater, and of course it has to be pink. I used some pink pearlescent cardstock from my stash for the sweater. For the collar and the trim on the sleeves, I used the opposite side of this pink cardstock, so it has a slightly darker pink color. I was trying to figure out which sleeve goes on the right and which one goes on the left. And I think the best way to figure it out is to place the sweater on the penguin. The penguin's flippers are fairly short, so you'll only see a tiny bit of them peeking out through the sleeves of the sweater. Then I'll put glue on the back and adhere the sweater on the penguin. The penguin will also be wearing a pink winter hat. This is the Santa hat that's included, but it also works as a winter hat. I use the same pink pearlescent cardstock for the hat, and for the little pom-pom and the trim of the hat, I use white glitter cardstock from Spellbinders. So there is the little penguin all assembled, so cute. I'll be adding the sentiment Warm Wishes. I use white cardstock for the words and black cardstock for the shadow. You could use this as a Christmas card, but I plan on using it as a winter card. This sentiment also has the little dot for the eye. Add that tiny bit of Barely Art glue. Pick up that die cut piece using the wax tip of the Craft Pro Pick tool and press it in place. I'm also using just one of the layering snowflake die cut pieces, the shadow piece for the largest snowflake, and I cut it out of vellum. I didn't want to cover up all the beautiful snowflakes on the background, so by using vellum for that piece, you'll still be able to see some of the snowflakes through it. But it'll also add some separation for the penguin. If I add the penguin directly onto the background with the snowflakes, it's a little busy, so the penguin will get lost. So by having that vellum layer, it adds some separation. I'll pop up the penguin using foam dimension, using some small foam squares from Spellbinders. This is the black color. I did put glue on the back to adhere this snowflake directly onto the card, but I decided I would pop it up as well. So even though I already have that glue on the back, I'll still add some of the foam pieces. Then I'll remove the release paper and add the snowflake with the penguin on the center of the card. I'll also be popping up the sentiment using more of the black foam squares, and I did cut some of them in half to fit behind the sentiment. I'll remove the release paper and add the sentiment underneath the penguin. So there is my finished card. I love how this one turned out as well. Lots of shimmer and shine, and the penguin is super cute. Now moving on to card number 3, and as I mentioned, no pink this time. I'm using one of the blue pattern papers for the background, and at the very bottom of the card, I'm adding a little snowy hill using some of the white pearlescent cardstock from Spellbinders. And I'm just using a pair of scissors to cut the little hill. Now here's the penguin I'll be assembling with you. I use black cardstock for the background of the penguin, and on the back side of the penguin's beak, I put some double-sided adhesive tape, and I'll inlay that tiny orange beak in place. For that center piece of the penguin, around the eyes and the chest and stomach, I use white cardstock, but I wanted just a little extra color around the edge, so I used Distress Oxide Pumice Stone ink. And for the final piece of the penguin, I'm attaching the feet. There's the top little area of the feet where you can add glue, and then attach it to the body of the penguin. Super easy and adorable. Now this penguin will be dressed up as Rudolph, so even though I did add the beak, I'll be covering it up with a red nose. I'm also adding the antlers, putting that little bit of glue on that connected area and attaching the antlers behind the penguin's head. Now I'll put glue on the back of the penguin and add him on the snowy hill. For the sentiment, I've already assembled it, Merry Christmas. Put glue on the back and add the sentiment above the penguin. For this card, I decided to keep it nice and flat. It's always good to have a few cards on hand that are nice and flat and don't require extra postage to mail. For a final finishing touch, I'm using a red glitter brush from scrapbook.com and adding some glitter on the Rudolph nose. So there is my finished card, super cute Rudolph penguin. Now moving on to my final card, number 4. For the background of my card, I have some of the white pearlescent cardstock, and I used the Snow Flurries die, but instead of cutting it out, I used the die to emboss. I have this fun snowflake emboss background. And I find the easiest way to emboss with a die is to use Spellbinders' Universal Plate System. It has all of the different sandwich recipes listed right on top of the plates. Around the background of the card, I'm adding some silver metallic cord. I'll first add adhesive on the back of the panel to hold the cord in place. Then I'll wrap it around the card 3 times. And to make sure that cord doesn't go anywhere, I'll secure it using clear double-sided adhesive tape. Then I'll layer it on some of the pattern paper. And I didn't want to waste all that pattern paper, so I did use a rectangle die and cut out the center. So I'll save that for another project. I placed some acrylic blocks on top for some added weight while the glue dries. Now I'll start working on the penguin, and this is the penguin with the partial area of the flippers cut out so it can hold an object. And I decided this penguin would hold a Christmas wreath. I used dark green cardstock for the wreath, red cardstock for the bow. I'll first add the wreath. And I'll put a little bit of glue behind the one flipper since it was sticking up just a tiny bit. Now I'll add the red bow at the top of the wreath. This little penguin looks so happy holding the wreath. Now I'll work on the layered snowflake. I use the outline of the largest snowflake, cut that out of vellum. Then I have 2 pattern paper snowflakes, the large and the smallest. And then the middle-sized snowflake, I use more vellum. So I'll layer all 4 of those pieces together. Then I'll put glue on the back of the snowflake, trying not to add it on the vellum areas that'll be visible on the front of the card. Now I'll adhere this snowflake on the left side of the card. And I'll place a large acrylic block on top for some added weight. For the penguin and the sentiment Noel, I will be popping them up with foam dimension. I'll use black foam squares on the back of the penguin and white foam squares on the back of the sentiment. I will cut some of the small foam squares in half to fit behind the sentiment since it has all those narrow areas for the word Noel. I'll remove the release paper and add the penguin in the center of the layered snowflakes. And I'll add the sentiment in the lower right-hand corner. For a final finishing touch, I'll add some gem stickers from Spellbinders. I'm using the Opal color, and this is also a retired color. When I was recording this video, I wasn't aware the gem sticker colors I selected were all retired until I was trying to find links for the different products. But it's always good to use up products in your stash. I'm adding gem stickers in the center of most of the snowflakes on the background, using a variety of different sizes of gem stickers. They do have adhesive on the back, but since I'm adding them on a pearlescent finish, I'll also put that small drop of Barely Art glue. It's never fun to pull out a card to give to someone and then realize the gem stickers have all fallen off. And since this card will probably be given to one of the residents at a nearby retirement home, I want to make sure everything is nice and secure. After adding all those different gem stickers, I decided it needed one more right above the Sentiment Noel. Now the Playful Penguin set does include a die to add blush for its cheeks. I just decided not to add it for my cards. Now here's another look at the 4 cards I made using Spellbinders' brand new Let It Snow collection by Simon Hurley. This is a fun collection. The penguins are absolutely adorable, and I love the variety of snowflake images. It's only August, so you'll probably see me use this collection more throughout the year. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.